Hi everyone, it is Dani and welcome to this update video this morning. I trust and hope that you have been enjoying your morning thus far. And so we're going to be talking about, of course, the eclipse. Today is the day. I'm super excited and I don't know about you guys, but I can't wait to see it. So if you're in the Caribbean, you'll have that chance of visibility, but it's really over in Central America that will have the best shot at witnessing the full thing. Some areas are in the path of experiencing the complete thing. Again, I've posted the link in the description. You can go ahead and check it out to know more about a solar eclipse if you don't, and also how much of the sun will be blocked out for you. But even if you're in a tinted vehicle, you might actually notice that the sun is not looking like the sun out there, but do not stare at it without the proper eye protection. We're going to be seeing a partial eclipse, and you can spread the word as well to get a lot more persons to know about this, because I'm sure that most persons have no idea what's going to be happening today. So again, for Jamaica, just after 11, the eclipse commences, and it will be at maximum just before 1 p.m. around 12:54. So you can share that information. But in this video, of course, I'll let you guys know about the rainfall activity, and if you have a pretty decent shot at seeing the eclipse. Now, let's get straight into it. We've also got 94L to talk about in depth. There's tropical storm Shawn and a couple of low pressure areas, those frontal systems out there, and let's go ahead and get straight into it. So we're kickstarting things, of course, looking at northern South America and the Caribbean. So here we can see a lot of thunderstorm activity over parts of Colombia and even Venezuela right now. Going to the Guyanas this morning, there isn't much happening. Same story as we head to the ABC Islands, going to Trinidad, Tobago, up through the Lesser Antilles, let's head further up north, and there we can see that area of very deep convection forming just offshore and in parts of Mexico as well, just offshore of the Yucatan in the Bay of Campeche. So there's all that activity even across parts of southern Belize, and for most Caribbean islands, though, there isn't much going on this morning. Up to the Bahamas, Cuba, maybe some overcast conditions for some areas here and there. Now, as it relates to the rainfall activity through today, as the map becomes more colorful, that is when you know that you're going to be getting some substantial rainfall. So most of this is expected as we head into the afternoon. So across most Caribbean islands, we're mostly just seeing those grays and those shades of greens. So across some spots in Jamaica, going to southern Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, even across sections of the Lesser Antilles, Cuba, near the Cayman Islands, ABC Islands, there might be some rainfall activity today, especially as we head into the afternoon. So the eclipse will be just in the early part of the afternoon, so hopefully there is going to be that chance of visibility. If you have eye protection, hopefully you'll be able to see the eclipse clearly, even if there's some passing clouds. Hopefully it won't be mostly cloudy. That will completely obscure your view of the eclipse. Down in the Guyanas, there might be some activity popping up across some sections of northern Guyana and Suriname, but for the most part, it should be a hot and sunny day, so hopefully you guys will have a pretty good view of the eclipse. We see that quite a bit of rainfall activity is expected across Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, going into Costa Rica, sections of Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, Guatemala, and of course Mexico. We saw that blob developing, so quite a bit of activity there. Another area that will have a pretty good shot at seeing this is most of Florida. So it's southern Florida might experience some rainfall activity. There may even be some overcast skies going to the northern Bahamas, but for the most part, the eclipse should be visible for those areas which will not be experiencing those conditions. And so now we want to go ahead and move on to Invest 94L. So we're looking at this graphic here, and we can see that the formation chance remains pretty high at 80%. Now it has risen through the next 48 hours, because let's look at the satellite imagery. This thing here is looking as though it's determined to get itself together sooner than expected. By the way, all that activity is associated with Shawn. Shawn is weakening out there. It should eventually dissipate, and I want to show you guys the track of the remnants. They may head to the Caribbean. So there we can see all that activity with 94L, and where we see those purples and grays and blacks. So those colors are representative of very tall cloud tops. That is where we would find the most activity, all those heavy downpours, the thunderstorms. So that is where we would find them. But we're seeing that it's getting a bit warmer. We're not seeing those intense colors in those latest frames here. So that is indicative of some weakening. But nonetheless, the system is looking as though it is getting itself together. It's producing a lot more activity, and so it may become a tropical depression by early next week rather than the middle part of next week. let's see how it will take advantage of those conducive conditions. But the environment is becoming more and more favorable ahead of the system to allow for that to happen. So going to Shawn now, let's quickly go on to this. So here you can see that it is expected to become post-tropical, meaning that it will be losing its tropical cyclone characteristics as we head into tomorrow. So right now it's barely sustaining itself. It's right at the threshold of tropical storm status. So it will continue to weaken and eventually dissipate. But take a look at this. This is the model track guidance. So if these remnants of Shawn could sustain themselves a bit out there, then in that case they could bring a little bit of rainfall activity to portions of the Leeward Islands. Here we can see most of these tracks going up to the northwest and then moving mostly on a westward track. So that could be the case. I mean, the GFS model was showing something similar from the get-go, that hey, the system could dissipate and that open trough could just dip into the Caribbean, maybe bring in some rainfall activity if there's enough in association with it. So let's see what's going to be happening as it relates to that. But Shawn is not going to be a tropical storm or tropical depression at the time of any impacts, if there will even be any. Now we want to head on to 94L. Let's go on to the track guidance for this. So we're seeing that a west-northwestward track is expected by most of these models. Here we can see that they still want to take the system very close to the Caribbean, and they're also showing gradual intensification. So instead of the next 3 days, we're seeing most models expecting that we could see development by the next 2 days. So as soon as Monday, this could acquire tropical storm status, maybe even Tuesday. Again, conditions are getting more conducive. Those waters are very warm to fuel the system, and I am expecting that it will become a tropical storm, eventually a hurricane. Now, as it relates to the track, let's go on to some ensemble data. So we're looking at the Euro here. So Euro still expecting that it is going to be a problem for the Caribbean islands. And take a look at this. Some of these tracks here that I highlighted in that blue and the green and even the yellow indicate a weaker system, a tropical storm, whereas seeing more of those shades of pinks and that reddish color, that is a stronger system, a hurricane. So with a weaker system, we're seeing more of a westward trend here, and a stronger system is more likely to make that curve sooner once it has the opportunity. So there are a lot of fronts coming out of the US. If you watched yesterday's video, I explained how the fronts and even with that high pressure area, the influence on these tropical cyclones. So once there's a weakness in that high, which is kind of trying to become dominant right now, then the system is going to have the opportunity to curve and move out. So timing is going to be of the essence. The longer it takes for that leeway to be there, then the system is going to be moving further west, being more of a problem for the Caribbean. And GFS, on the other hand, we're still seeing where a couple of ensemble members want to take the system into the Caribbean and even very close, but that black line that represents the average of all these smaller ones, we can see that the main one is showing that the system will be curving away. Going to the Canadian ensembles, we're seeing that that continues to be consistent about the system moving into the Caribbean as well. So Canadian, Euro, both consistent on seeing something making its way into the Caribbean. And in the event of, say, a strong tropical storm, even a hurricane, we know how it's going to go. There's going to be that storm surge, the very heavy rainfall, which is the main concern because that triggers flooding, those mudslides, landslides. So that is going to be the main concern should the system actually approach, as even a tropical depression can do enough damage, but I think it will be stronger than that because of how conducive environmental conditions are expected to become. But going back to the National Hurricane Center's area, which is highlighted, we are seeing that general track to the west and then eventually to the west-northwest. The system could still be a problem for the Caribbean, and so I'll be keeping you guys posted on it as time goes by. So that is the latest update, and I hope that you found this video to be quite informative. But if you have any questions, as always, please do leave them in the comments. I'll respond to you once I can, and remember to be weatherwise.